In this episode, we pick up the pace with our camping and have one of the best meals of the trip.
But you'll never guess what country it came from.
My wife and I are on a motorcycle trip through Mexico, Central, and South America, exploring culture and food. So bring an appetite for adventure, because we're hungry riders. So we're headed back into Chile from Argentina, heading towards Valparaiso. And we were going through, as we're heading in, we saw some more vineyards. And this is one of those regions in both Argentina and Chile where most of the wine comes from. It's a major wine growing region. And so we saw the vineyards.
Yeah, it was very pretty. And so when we got into Valparaiso, we met back up with Carmen and Michael, the German people that we had met on the Stahlrat.
And before in Panama.
And before that.
Just randomly.
Yeah, so they had already been to the very bottom, Ushuaia, and back up. So they were going quite a bit faster than we were. But it was a good chance to meet back up with them. That was fun.
And they were shipping their bikes back to Germany.
From Valparaiso.
And that's like one of the major ports to do that from.
Right.
But we were traveling a slower pace, so we said goodbye to them.
And we headed to Santiago. And one of the main reasons, we usually avoid the big cities, but one of the main reasons we wanted to hit Santiago is because our bikes were burning quite a bit of oil. And we heard that this is the good place to do it, to figure out what's wrong and fix them up.
Essentially what we needed to do was replace the pistons, which isn't a big deal, especially in the US, like $200 and you're good to go, which we were totally willing to do. Except parts are very hard to come by in Argentina. They cost a whole bunch because they have all these taxes on it. It's supposed to be a little bit less in Chile. But we went to the main Kawasaki dealership, talked to the head mechanic there, and explained our situation. He's like, oh yeah, a bunch of other KLRs that just came through here in the last couple months and used up all those parts, also replacing their pistons.
Apparently there's something wrong with the gas in Peru that causes this problem in KLRs. So we're not the only ones, but we would have to stay in Santiago for like a month for them to get the parts in, which we weren't really willing to do.
Or just keep putting oil in the bike, which is what the mechanic suggested. Because, hey, it's a KLR.
Pretty much every time we filled up with gas, we filled up with oil at the same time, which it's kind of a lot of oil.
Yeah.
But it's better than waiting around.
Your bike was burning a little bit more than mine, but mine was also leaking oil at the same time, so it was about the same rate. But we just made it down the road. Again, we're not super crazy about the big cities, and we headed south on one of the major highways that was super good quality. You'd think you're in Europe, super fast.
4-lane divided freeway.
Yep, and just stopped for lunch. So this is some kind of Chilean pork sandwich where they said it was Chilean spices, and it looks almost like a lunch meat that's just super thick, and it's, I guess, steamed together somehow, and then wrapped in, I guess, pork fat? I don't know. There's another layer, which is not working. They said oregano was the main ingredient. I can definitely taste that. It's pretty soft and it's good pork.
So camping is supposed to be fairly popular in this area of Chile, but we could not for the life of us find an actual campsite to stop at.
We were like, we're ready to stop. We're start looking for a place. We hadn't seen any at all that entire day, and like you were kind of expecting how it works in the US, like you see a sign for camping and you just go there, like as you're going down the highway.
And we eventually did find one, so we stopped and we went in there, but there was nobody there. No people working there, no other campers.
But it was nice campgrounds,
Yeah,
they had facilities, it was right along a little river.
Yeah, it was very nice.
That's
So
great.
we just stopped there, and if somebody comes by, we'll pay them. If not, then
We don't
whatever.
pay.
Yeah.
So I went to the store and got some groceries for that night, some chorizo and potatoes for some soup,
That was very good.
which was really good. And it was a pleasant camping experience.
Yeah, except for the cold showers. At least there were showers.
And it was free. So we left the next day and we realized that the major camping was like 5 minutes down the road from
Very
there.
next exit.
And it was like a lot more infrastructure, but super crowded again.
Right.
And so we kind of preferred our low-key and free camping at that point.
So we kept heading down the road.
We made it all the way to Osorno.
Osorno is pretty much the last major city going south in Chile, because past that it's Patagonia, as in like you need boats to get places and it's gravel roads and that kind of thing.
So our last time to relax, and we got the bikes fixed up here. I got that oil leak fixed on mine. Got some things straightened out from Serafina's crash in the previous episode, and all was well. But it was a great town. And this is one of those places where immigrants from Germany from like the 1800s were there and settled. And because of that, there was a lot of German culture still. And along with that, one of the best meals of the trip, German food. I just was not expecting that, and for some reason, it was just like eating South American type food for so long, it tasted extra good. Two giant, like over an inch thick pork chops, and like 2 different kinds of sauerkraut, mashed potatoes, and some like really good beer. The beer there was really awesome.
I had a really good honey beer that I really enjoyed.
But yeah, it was a good break. But after that, we're ready to head back across the Andes, back into Argentina, because we didn't want to take the ferry down through Patagonia. We wanted to ride the bikes the whole way.
And we were zigzagging across the border anyway, so we headed back into Argentina towards Bariloche.
And this was great mountain riding, and a lot of Chile up until this point really felt like California, and this kind of felt like some California mountain riding as well. But
a little bit.
Again, great quality roads, riding along lakes, and
I think now we're officially in Patagonia, which is really fun.
and
So gorgeous.
And Bariloche is one of those towns where it's like that again is like kind of the border of like you're starting there. There's some national parks, and
right.
It's right along the lake, and it was really great.
And as we headed over that border, we finally had to pay the reciprocity that we avoided paying last time.
That's $160 per person.
So this is a fee that Argentina charges American citizens because it's the same amount that the U.S. charges Argentinians to come into the U.S. So yeah, it was $160 per person.
But it's just a fee. They don't do any checks or anything like that. But
Right, and it'll be good for us for 10 years. So even if we cross back and forth over and over again,
which
we
we're
don't
going to be
have
doing a lot.
Right, we won't have to pay that each time. It'll be good for the whole time.
So we're in Bariloche, and I just could not believe how crowded it was in Patagonia. That was one of those things like I'd never expected at all. Like you think, oh, Patagonia, it's out in the middle of nowhere. There's very few people that live there. Yeah, because like it's all tourists that are there all the time.
Yeah, and even the surrounding areas nearby too. Patagonia in general is a very popular place for tourists to go. Mostly local tourists, like Argentinians from Buenos Aires and other areas, go there for their vacation. And it was peak summertime, so it was peak tourist time. We got caught up in that, and we ended up staying at a campsite that charged $30 a night, which was quite steep from what we were used to. But it was pretty good. Lots of infrastructure, again, Wi-Fi.
Yeah, power at your tent. But keep in mind, though, so $30 a night for camping, and that means the hotels are like around 100 something per night.
100, 150 for the cheap ones.
Yeah, so that's kind of why we're doing it that way.
It's worth it.
Yeah.
So the next day we kept riding, and we rode through Parque Nacional Los Alerces.
And this is one of those, again, really popular national parks, super crowded. We're on super nicely paved roads up to that point, and then to go here.
Now we're in gravel. But the national park was really nice. It's all up against a lake, so there was a ton of camping. There was maybe 20 campsites within just a few miles, but there were 3 different kinds. And the highest one is where you have Wi-Fi, you have hot showers, and all the infrastructure.
What we had before that.
Right, power outlets and the whole deal. And then the second one has basically just bathrooms. And then the third one it's free, but there's like no infrastructure at all. Which is what we ended up doing because we passed by about 5 or 6
and we pulled into a number of them too, and like they were all just full. Like there was no spots.
Right.
So we just kept riding until we found one.
Well, because the free campsites, they don't charge. Because they don't charge, they don't really get full. It's up to you to find a piece of land that you can put your tent on. So it was kind of crowded, but we had a wonderful view of the lake.
And we were able to park our bikes right there. Yeah, it was an awesome location, despite the lack of infrastructure. We've been carrying like emergency food with us that whole time, but like usually we've been going to the store to eat more fresh things, but we whipped out the pasta for that night and made a meal of it. On the next episode, we ride the Carretera Austral and see one of the few glaciers that is still growing.
But until then, you can subscribe to our channel on YouTube at youtube.com/hungryriders, and of course our whole website is at hungryriders.com. We'll see you next time.
This should add another 60 miles or 100 kilometers to our range, and it's good to have an extra container just to put something in if you need it. But hopefully we won't need to use it.